Good day, you're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Danie, Laurel.
And I'm Delos Santos. Here are today's top stories. The National Treasury raises more than 162 billion pesos in the maiden offering of retail treasury bonds under the Marcos Jr. administration.
President Bongbong Marcos meets with the new officials of the Sugar Regulatory Administration to finalize plans on sugar importation.
The Bureaus of Internal Revenue and Customs are tasked to collect more than 3.4 trillion pesos next year to help finance the record 2023 budget.
And Florida exits the Philippine area of responsibility but not without leaving a trail of destruction.
Let's begin our broadcast with the government securing more than 162.7 billion pesos in the first offering of retail treasury bonds under the administration of President Bongbong Marcos. Finance Chief Ben Jokno says the issuance serves as an important component of fundraising efforts to finance development programs. The RTBs target small investors who want low risk but higher yielding savings instruments backed by the national government. The 5-year bonds are being offered in denominations of at least 5,000 pesos. National Treasurer Rosalia De Leon says the auction results showed strong interest from investors. Meanwhile, documents from the proposed 2023 budget showed that the government seeks to borrow more than $4.1 billion next year from multilateral lenders. Proceeds will fund programs on education, social protection, tax reform, healthcare, climate change, and financial inclusion.
Now, Executive Secretary Vic Rodriguez admits asking former Sugar Regulatory Administration officials to draft that controversial import order number 4. Still, Rodriguez pointed his fingers at former Agriculture
Undersecretary Leocadio Sebastian for signing the document without the President's authorization. Shaila Francisco with the report.
Executive Secretary Vic Rodriguez has finally spoken up about the sugar importation mess that he's being linked to. During the first Senate hearing on the matter, Rodriguez confirmed that he asked for an importation plan and a draft import order. He admitted to receiving a copy of the draft import order but said he did not give any response.
I purposely did not answer dahil wala pa pong tugon ang Pangulo sa tatlong bagay na ito.
Rodriguez said they eventually found out that the order was already signed by some officials, including now resigned Agriculture Undersecretary Leocadio Sebastian.
I confronted Yusek Leo Sebastian and asked him why he did such a thing behind the President's back. I asked him to call then SRA Administrator Serafica and Board Member Beltran. Ang sagot po niya sa akin, ang naging tugon niya, akala ko po kasi okay na, sabi ni Yusek Leo.
Rodriguez immediately left the hearing for a cabinet meeting. Senator Risa Ontiveros appeared unconvinced with his statements. For one, she said it was Rodriguez who released the memo authorizing Sebastian to sit as ex-officio chairman of committees where the Agriculture Secretary is a part of. Ontiveros filed a motion to invite Rodriguez back for the next hearing.
Alam ni ES na may umiikot na draft order. An order that received support from stakeholders of the sugar industry. Did he mention this at all to his principal?
Sebastian, meanwhile, said no one influenced him into signing the order and that he did it after consultations with stakeholders and based on the data collected.
The pressure to come up to supplement the supply, local supply, was really there, Your Honor. If I don't act, I could be reprimanded or something like that. But if I also act, that's also the risk, Your Honor. I decided that based on that authority.
Coca-Cola Beverages Philippines agree that there is a shortage in sugar.
Magmula ng umpisa po ng taong ito, nahirapan na po kami mag-manufacture in the customary manner. Kaya po, minabuti na po namin na sumangguni po sa mga may kinauukulan.
But senators remain unconvinced following the series of warehouse raids on suspected hoarded sugar.
Is this the shortage that you're saying? Your honors in the DA? Ayan. Ano yan? Are we pretending that that's not in existence?
Meanwhile, President Bongbong Marcos has already met with the new officials of the Sugar Regulatory Administration to finalize the government's plan on sugar importation. Shaila Francisco, we are One News.
Now, to address the rising prices of sugar, the new SRA board wants all sugar output in the coming crop year to be allocated for domestic use. This move will be implemented under Sugar Order Number 1, which the President himself directed them to come up with. The new crop year for the sugar industry will start next month. Though the government maintains that the shortage of the commodity is artificial due to hoarding, the SRA says there's a crunch in supply of refined sugar that is affecting local soda makers. That includes Coca-Cola, whose sugar supply needs have hit, quote, a critical place. But the SRA emphasized that Pepsi and RC Cola still have enough supply. The SRA says it's now determining the volume of additional refined sugar that's needed so that it can recommend actions to President Marcos. Is it artificial, or is there really shortfall for the soft drink makers? They're in a far less ideal situation. Now the country is even looking into limiting its sugar allocation to the U.S. What does the private sector think about this? For insights, we have George Barcelon, President of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. George, good morning, good day. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Jess.
Okay. Again, George, you're also an exporter. What to make of that recommendation to at least allot all sugar produced for the coming crop year for domestic use, essentially limiting quota allocation for the U.S.? How will this impact the sector?
I think that is very prudent in view of the fact that there's demand for the local consumer and also for the exporters. But what had transpired the past week, it's very positive with President BBM taking this, looking at this matter, and he was able to convince the players to bring down the price at a reasonable level.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very crucial, because otherwise, if the price of sugar was so high, it's an input cost to manufacturing, to beverages, and the cost is transferred to the consumer. So we're happy that the domestic sugar that will be allocated for export will be given priority for the local users.
Okay. Sir, are you convinced that there is a shortfall, no, according at least to beverage makers, but it seems that this shortfall is artificial due to hoarding, or is there really a shortfall due to production and supply constraints as well?
From what I've read and from what I've heard, it looks like we cannot use a big brush stroke and say that our country is facing a shortage. Maybe in some areas, wherein because of logistic issue, because of poor projection, they have been experiencing shortage. But I wouldn't say that it's across the whole country that there's a shortage, because apparently we're moving into the harvest season, and there will be new crop, there will be new sugar available. So it's I think to move forward is really coordinating with the milling and also with the users of sugar.
Sir, as you know, a person that sits, of course, in the Exporters Federation, how important is sugar as one of our export commodities? It's very difficult to think that we need to import sugar, diba, when we should be one of the ones exporting. Sir, wouldn't this limit, of course, the exporters from continuing their businesses if we need to keep supplying domestically plus import pa?
What's important really, Denise, is for the local exporters to be competitive. Our cost of sugar compared to, let's say, our ASEAN neighbors, we're almost double. And if that were the cost input for the exporters, then that makes them less competitive. Okay? So that's one, I think, is of key importance, wherein the price should be at the price we're in. We're not saying that traders or the mills should be losing money, but the price of realistically should be much lower than what is the present market price right now.
Okay, so even sir, for our exporters, but it's expensive for other countries buying our sugar. Sir, give us a feel of how dire, if so, the situation is for the beverage makers. Coca-Cola already saying critical level for their needs. Is it too late already to be importing, especially if it's going to take a month now just to get the supply in?
At this point in time, after viewing your previous Senate hearing, there seems to be some sugar available that either has not been allocated to the market. So I would think that the SRA, now that it's under, of course, it's directly under President BBM, can unlock whatever sugar that's available, to help the beverage maker and also exporters and the consumer. I don't know exactly how much, as was this presented earlier, how many metric tons, but it seems like the players here, the sugar mills, the stakeholders, seems to be quite confident that there is enough available.
Now, you touched on this earlier, Sir George. Again, you have the biggest retailers in the country forced to put a price cap on sugar. How is this going to impact other players? Should they follow suit? And can the private players, even those yung mga malilit, yung mga nasa tindahan in public markets, can they actually cope up with such a loss here?
Well, the price cap that I mentioned earlier, that the president able to convince that either the traders or the resellers to bring it down, and that's already a very big help. We know very well also the cost of production of sugar has gone up because of the cost of logistic and also because of the high cost of fertilizer. But we, prior to this sudden increase over a short period of time, sugar was selling in the range of 40 to 50 pesos. And that is why this big jump has a great impact across the whole range of users and consumers all alike.
Now, of course, this whole sugar mess has two facets. Again, one, you have issues in supply. Another, of course, there's a brewing, at least political scenario with this whole saga that we're having here. What does the private sector make of this whole mess over sugar order number 4? That has already gone up to the Senate, and even unearthing possible faults, even at the level of Executive Secretary Vic Rodriguez. What do you make of that?
On the private sector side, we don't want to speculate on the ongoing of the investigation, and apparently there's justification point of President BBM being concerned about the sugar issue, and we'll just have to wait like everyone else, hearing and what comes out of it. But as I said, what's important is now the president has his eyes on this issue, and I think from henceforth, whether there's going to be importation, whether there's going to be proper allocations of sugar, it will be done in such a way that there's closer consultation between the stakeholders.
Okay. So, sir, are you seeing this issue being resolved quickly, given the appointment of the new officials of the SRA?
I would like to believe so, because what's important is really there seems to be some miscommunication prior. I mean that got us into this mess. If as I mentioned earlier, stakeholders, millers, the haciendas, production of sugar, unless we're affected by calamities, it's highly predictable. Okay? The study that has been made has shown that there could be a shortfall on production. I'm not talking about the supply and market demand. It's because of the typhoon that we had experienced the last year, and that has affected the tonnage of sugar that would be expected. And the numbers were being shown, and I would think that maybe they have to look at it further, including the present upcoming milling season, which is just around the corner. And at this point in time, the numbers seems to be calmed down for a while because of all the news about the shortage. They were kind of placed in a position wherein tuloy ba yung production namin, kaya ba namin i-supply yung mga commitment namin sa export. But at this point in time, it seems to be that there's a sense of confidence that things would work out.
All right, so let's not speculate. Let's try first to fix this miscommunication and get to the bottom of this as quickly as possible. Thank you so much. That was, of course,
Thank you.
George Barcelon, PCCI.
Thank you.
Now let's pause for a quick break, but coming right up after that. Clearing operations are now underway in Cagayan after Florita left a trail of destruction in the province. More of that and other stories when Businessworld Live returns. Stay with us.
Storm Florita barreled through the country. That is according to the NDRRMC's 8 a.m. bulletin. However, the council reports that up to 6 areas are still flooded due to the storm. 5 rain-induced landslides also happened since the onslaught of Florita. The NDRRMC added that up to 1,344 families were affected by the severe tropical storm. That is equivalent to over 4,600 individuals in 60 barangays from regions 1, 2, and the Cordilleras. Tropical cyclone wind signal number 1 is still raised over some parts of northern Luzon. The complete list of areas under signal number 1 is now flashed on your screen. As of 5 in the morning, Florita, which has the international name of Maon, was already outside the Philippine area of responsibility. Classes and work suspensions are still in place today in some parts of Luzon, including the NCR plus area, La Union, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, and Pangasinan.
Now, clearing operations in Cagayan are now underway after Florita battered the province. To give the latest on the situation, we have on the ground Laila Pangilinan reporting live from Barangay Kapatan, Tuguegarao City. Laila, what do you have for us?
That's right, Jess. Clearing operations is still ongoing a day after the wrath of severe tropical storm Florita here in Cagayan. In Bagao, the cornfields were heavily devastated a month short before harvest season. In Bagao yesterday, a big tree that toppled an electric post not only caused power shortage, but also disabled motorists from passing through a portion of Zone 6. This is the only possible route going to Tuguegarao City yesterday. Possible flooding was also considered last night as the water level in the Cagayan River rose to 8.30 meters at 10 p.m. and continued to rise at 8.40 meters at 1 a.m. But as of 7:30 in the morning today, the water level being monitored at the Buntun Bridge has subsided to 8 meters. The Buntun Bridge is still under warning level 1 with 11 meters at its critical level. As a result of the rise in water level, parts of the town of Amulong in Tuguegarao City experienced flooding. Some residents were also evacuated because of the floods. Still here in Tuguegarao, there is no electricity after a century-year-old tree was uprooted by the typhoon. There were 3 injured after the tree fell down, and clearing operations are still ongoing. In total, 131 barangays of the 19 towns of Cagayan were evacuated before the onslaught of Typhoon Florita yesterday. 9 bridges and roads are still unpassable due to flooding. Jess, if you can see behind me, this is the Pinakanawan River. But what you don't see is the Pinakanawan Bridge, which is, actually the Pinakanawan River overflowed so that so now you can't see the bridge. It actually sank, and for you to get to the other side, you would have to ride a boat. So residents are having a hard time going to and fro because of this unpassable bridge of Pinakanawan. And beside me, if you can see, this is an example of cornfields that were heavily devastated because of the typhoon. This is in Pinakanawan right now. We also saw these devastated cornfields in Bagao, and we've also received reports that we also saw that there are also devastated cornfields in the town of Alcala. There are also municipalities, Jess, that have no electricity. Some parts in Tuguegarao have no electricity, and in other parts of Bagao, also in Amulong and in Igig. That's the latest here, Jess. Back to you.
All right, really a wide trail of destruction over there in Cagayan. Thank you very much, Laila Pangilinan, reporting live from Tuguegarao, Cagayan. And for more updates, let's get details from Cagayan's Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office. Their head, Rueli Rapsing, joins us via phone. Rueli, thank you for joining us. Kamusta kayo dyan? How's the weather there? Maulan pa ba?
Yes, good morning po, sir. Ibinaba na po ng DOST Pag-asa yung ating signal number into signal number 1. Ano? Nakalabas na po si Florita ng par natin. Medyo cloudy and windy lang, but improved weather condition na po tayo.
Pero kamusta yung lagay ng tubig, yung water level dyan sa Cagayan River? Of course, we were monitoring that last night. That exceeded 8 meters yesterday. How's the level now?
Yes, pababa naman po yung Cagayan River natin. As of 5 a.m. kanina, nasa 8.16. Now, ang threshold na hinihintay natin, bumaba ito ng 5 meters para wala ng flooded areas. Kapag 6 meters kasi, pag umabot na yung Buntun water gauge natin ng 6 meters, definitely yung tapatan Pinakanawan overflow bridge natin, unpassable na yan. And yung Tanaan na Bukulan area ng Amulong West, flooded na rin po yan.
Again, the hope, of course, is bumaba sa at least 5 meters. Now, do we have reported floodings in Cagayan? Ilang bayan yung mga apektado at may mga tulayan kalsada ba na hindi muna passable at the moment?
Well, we have reported 9 bridges and roads. Hanggang sa ngayon, unpassable pa rin po yan.
And this time around, how many families have been affected? How many are now in evacuation centers? And at the same time, may naitala na ba tayong casualty?
0 casualty po tayo dito sa severe tropical storm Florita, no? Although we have reported 3 minor injuries. That is due to the falling tree branches. Nagkaroon ng wound and some scratch yung victims natin, but there's no serious injury.
Okay, good to know at least.
For the affected families, umabot po tayo ng 3,000 families evacuated with 9,000 individuals. Ito ay sa 131 barangays natin of the 19 municipalities.
Alright, maraming salamat po for those updates. Ingat kayo dyan. Again, Rueli Rapsin, Cagayan PDRRMO Head.
Thank you so much.
The BIR and the Customs Bureau are tasked to collect 3.4 trillion pesos in taxes and duties next year. That's over 10% higher than the Revenue Agency's goal for this year. The BIR is expected to collect 2.6 trillion pesos in 2023, while the BOC has a 765 billion peso collection target. This is to help finance the record 5 trillion peso national budget and reduce the country's fiscal deficit.
Now, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has appointed businessman Al Tenco as head of the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR. Tenco will replace Andrea Domingo as chairman and CEO of the gaming regulator. The Philippine Star reports that Tenco's appointment ended months of speculation on who would take over PAGCOR. Tenco was a former vice mayor of Malolos, Bulacan. He also worked as a special assistant of businessman Tony Boy Coaco.
And those are the biggest stories on the economic and corporate front today. I'm Jess De Los Santos.
And I'm Danie Laurel. We are One News, all sides, all the time. But don't go away. We'll give you the latest on the local bourse when Businessworld Live returns. Stay with us.
And you're still watching Business World Live. The storm hasn't stopped the bourse from trading today, and we are hoping for calmer weather as well in global equities. What's the latest, Dan?
Exactly, Jess. I do have to point out that the foreign exchange or currency markets are closed today. That's August 24 because of the storm. But like you mentioned, virtual trading floor. So nothing to really close there for the local stock exchange, and trading, of course, continues to happen all across the world. You can see on my terminal here how equities have been happening overnight in the US. They finally stabilized a touch, but you can see if you look at the year-to-date counter, how much pain has been happening. This as there's new data showing all over the world, weaker economy from US to Europe to Asia. We had AB Capital's Jovis Vistan saying there's high energy prices in Europe, weakening the Western economies. The euro slid to 20-year lows yesterday. And I'm just going to pull out the oil prices here for you. It's actually down a touch, but again, rising back above $90 a barrel. This after OPEC or Saudi and OPEC said they could cut output to correct the recent oil decline. China naman, drought, power shortages there. And if you take a look at our local bourse, we do seem to be regaining some strength here after quite a slide. Take a look at how we've performed over just the past 3 days, more than 3% down already. Just profit takers looking to take their money out, retreating of course to the 6600 levels here. Yesterday all gauges were declining, and this happens of course as the peso just has fallen another day, an 8th straight day. And if you can see the world currencies here on my terminal, the peso is almost at the bottom of the rung here, down by 9% year to date, Jess.
Now, Dan, earlier you were talking about energy. You have SMC Power, Global Power Holdings at least warning us to brace for more pain ahead. What's the latest there?
Yes, exactly that. Quite a warning here from SMC Global Power. They did mention that electricity prices in Metro Manila and nearby provinces could go up by as much as 30% starting October if the energy regulator fails to act on a petition for a temporary rate hike. So what's going on here? SMC is asking, of course, for the ERC to approve a relief because they've been losing billions of pesos, especially due to the high coal prices to produce electricity. That's already 15 billion pesos in incurred losses for SMC Global Power. And if this does not happen, they said that we might be bracing for up to 80 centavos per kilowatt hour of an increase in the next 3 to 4 months. If this does happen, or the relief happens, then it would rise by 30 centavos per kilowatt hour. So again, just some pain here ahead, whether it's 30 centavos per kilowatt hour, 80 centavos per kilowatt hour. Brace for some electricity price hikes in the near term.
All right, and that's it for today, August 24, 2022. Join us again tomorrow at exactly 9:30 a.m. You can also catch us on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com.ph and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Jess De Los Santos.
And I'm Danie Laurel. Mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. We are One News, all sides, all the time.